Mad Sound.
You're listening to Mad Sound Radio. And now, here's your host, Charlie John.
Hey everyone, welcome to Mad Sound Radio, episode number 8. This is the show where we talk with musicians about what goes into their craft, the stories behind the songs, and much, much more. I'm your host, musician, and certified music nerd, Charlie John. Today's guest is an old friend of mine. Mr. Matt Waters is a singer-songwriter, blues, funk, all over the place, actually. He writes a lot of different stuff, singer-songwriter, pop, and he plays out a lot. We kind of get into a lot of stuff today regarding the current music industry, what he's doing, and a lot more in this interview with Matt Waters. So without further ado, this is episode 8 of Mad Sound Radio with Matt Waters.
Can't stop my way. I've been crowned a killer. Ain't my choice to be an angel or sinner. I've done my best to keep my eye warm in the winter. The sweetest taste comes after the bitter.
You're in San Francisco. You're just a floating face.
Maddie, what's up, man? How's it going?
Life's good, brother. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. You're killing it, man. It looks like you're busy all the time. Like you have more time than normal humans, it looks like.
No, that is definitely not the case.
That's what you make it look like.
I'm just burning my hours in the dumbest way possible, brothers, just like the rest of us.
It's good stuff, man. You got all those Monday shows.
So that's actually about to change going into next year. I'm going to move the Muse to Wednesdays because no one wants to leave their fucking house on Mondays, I found out. So
I wasn't going to say anything, but nobody wants to leave their fucking house. But anyway, we're talking about your songwriter showcase, which it used to be at Latitudes.
Yes, started at Latitudes.
And then,
yeah, sad.
I know. They had a great stage, man.
They did. It was a great room, but I think that part of town's still figuring out what kind of entertainment they care for. And, I think everything since 2021 has been like, does the music venue that we used to go to survive, or does music move to a new place, or does that part of town even care for that kind of thing? So it's an odd internal discussion to have with itself, but...
Yes.
We've moved it to Little Miami to start right now. I'm still looking for a couple other venues that feel like good fits for it. Like Radio Artifact's one of my favorite rooms. I hope at some point we can do it down there, but that involves paying some folks for the show rather than getting paid for the shows. That makes it difficult on me.
Sure. That's where you had your live record, man.
Dude, exactly. And that's the best sounding space in the city. But I get that they have different operating costs, and like a bar does, where it's like, oh, we have budget to pay for entertainment. Versus like, no, we need revenue coming in from shows. So it's all about just building up the consumer basis of it and making sure that people do want to come to the show, and then making sure the artists that come out feel like it's worth their while as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about the EP, which was not super long ago, but it was released a little bit ago.
Yeah.
How many tracks? I mean, is it, and was it all you on production and live set? Were you using live band stuff, or like, how did that work out?
So all live band, it was all my own band, and then I'd done all the mixing and mastering, all the recording here in my parents' basement. Very grateful for the space. But I wanted to take on the challenge of the mix and master, one to save a little bit on budget, but also like, if you never take on that job, you never know what you're really paying people for. Like, yeah, you get a new mix and it sounds better, and you're relieved that you don't have to worry about that. But to go through the very like nuanced process of it and trying it out on different speakers took me to a different appreciation of what that job is, and hopefully the templates I built through the process will allow me to get better with it next time. Like with the amount of records that you put out in the last couple of years, I'm sure you have a variety of templates and how that's kind of evolved and whatnot. But just to hear that coming through a phone for someone else on Spotify, that it met the mark was everything for me.
So you were A-Bing it on the phone too?
I'd A-B on the phone and the car speakers and AirPods and shittier headphones.
Man, stuff's hard.
It is.
The phone stuff is real hard.
Yeah, and it's annoying to find out like what you need to do to your actual mix. It's like there's so much more compromise in that process than I thought.
Yeah.
It's not make it sound great here and then it'll sound great there. It's like what's the most likely scenario for a listener?
Right.
Probably in the car. but there's a good chance they're going to play it on the phone. So you need to have that snare screaming, so that people can get a little bit of groove under their ass.
Yeah, they're playing it for their friends on their phone. Yeah.
Exactly. It's like worst case scenario is unfortunately a very likely case. So
yeah. I mean, how did you find that overall process of doing it all yourself as opposed to, obviously sending it out to a mixer and then getting it back a couple weeks later? Because I was just talking with another musician from the UK, Brad Osborne, just now, and we were talking about relinquishing control with your own music. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why I do a lot of it myself, because that part of me has a trouble with relinquishing control of your own original music.
I had always been the category where I had someone else do that, so I never felt like I was giving up that control. I felt like I didn't have that capacity. Gotcha. And then towards the end of like my last producer relationship, I felt like I had a chip on my shoulder for what that person did and the way I kind of got treated at the end of that relationship, and it was a bit of a musical divorce.
Right.
So I was trying to gain control of the project while also like proving a point to myself that I was capable of doing this.
Yes.
But I did find out so much about how keeping the process clean of saying like, okay, I'm not going to mix until the end of this process. I'm going to come in and track my parts of this. I'll get the scratch. I'll let the band come in. They'll do their parts. I'll edit as I go. But reserving it all for the next step, or else you would do work and then you'd have to undo that work just to redo that work. So trying to find out what my process really was going to be moving forward was the most difficult part of it. It's like, how do you standardize this after we finish this project?
Correct. And now, I have a different process than you because I don't have a live band, so I actually do mix as I go, and that's just also how I just learn to do it. But I totally understand the idea of having to undo stuff when you're having somebody else come in and cut something else.
Yeah.
And you have to undo that mix that you just did or whatever.
When I was talking to my buddy Dylan yesterday, he's similar in the way that like he mixes the whole time. He wants to enjoy the listening experience while he's working on that. But then something as simple as like, if you automated this section, now you have to go through and change every single point of automation, unless you have like something to actually write it with. But like the moment that you make a decision, you either have to ride with that or you have to find a way around it. And I didn't want to be working around uninformed decisions of mine,
Shit.
You froze, brother. The internet has failed us. Damn.
Are you there? Sorry, man.
I am here. You're fine.
I cut out for a second. My internet is just unstable today.
We can work on that, Charlie. We can get in closer proximity. We can Bluetooth this shit.
That's what I'm doing. I literally just did that.
Or we can Starlink it. Yeah. We could go the Elon Musk route.
Hell yeah. I would love that. Hopefully this works. Okay. So your buddy does the kind of mixing as he goes kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you were talking about that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, that's an awesome way to do it if you are going to be in that seat the whole time and you do want the best listening experience.
Right.
But, sometimes I was focusing too much on the mix and not enough on the parts. And when I'm making decisions between edits, it's like, it's time just to get it in a place with the faders. Don't touch any of the plugins. Don't touch any of the fun side of it until that time is really warranted. Because then also I was trying to do the last EP in like a batch style production. I wanted to do 4 songs when I sit down to mix. That's not exactly what happened, but it did feel like the easiest way to get things done.
Yes, that whole gain staging thing, which is where you take off all the plugins and you just which is kind of old school. You know what I mean? Like it's very like you're sitting at a mixing board and you have nothing on it, and then you're just kind of, let's bring the kick, let's bring the snare, let's bring the hi-hat, let's bring the hats up, overhead, all that stuff, and just as it matches volume wise. But we're in such a area now with technology that everything is, you can have everything on it at any time you want it. Like even while you're cutting stuff, you can have the best processor on there. As far as like cutting guitar,
and I think there's something really musically fulfilling. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Like it's a more pleasurable experience when you can take, the toys you've paid for, the things that you know are part of your sound, and implement them through the process.
Right.
Like one thing that I've really enjoyed about the Universal Audio world is you can record through the console app like it is a more analog mixer, and you can print that. So you're not going to be using DSP, you're not going to be using any CPU after the fact. So I take my favorite bass amp plugin, I put that on there, and that's how I'm going to track bass straight through. And yeah, I can make changes later on that, but I'd rather shoot myself in the foot and have a good time right now, and then have a clean gain stage where I don't have to worry about any plugins. I'm just pushing it to a place where I'm happy, moving from there.
Totally. So you are in a place now, and by the way, were you happy with how those songs came out, of having produced, mixed, and mastered all that stuff, by yourself?
I was happy with people's reaction to it. And when I stepped away from it, I was satisfied with it. But if I went back and listened now, I'd have thoughts. I'd have things I want to change. And
nothing's ever done. That's the
for sure.
That's the number one rule. I have, I put out a bunch of these songs, and it's just
the full album's out now, right?
I have notes. It comes out tomorrow.
Okay, very nice, very nice.
Full album comes out tomorrow.
11 songs, right?
12 songs. We got 12, including a Phil Collins cover.
Fuck yeah.
And yeah, I did all that myself, and I produced it all, and with help here and there. But I have notes on stuff that's released. I have,
yeah.
I would go tinker around with some stuff, but it's hard because it's creative.
I'm having these thoughts right now about, I got a pile of songs that feel like they're ready for their time to go in the box and get kind of cleaned and polished and presented. And I keep wondering, is a single at a time where it gets all the focus that it deserves better than the album or the EP? Because I got songs on the EP that I thought would be the front runner, and they're at the bottom of the streamed list, and I got other songs that kept getting picked up and kept doing well, and that feels great. But to see your children go unloved is a very difficult thing.
To see the ones that you're like, people will love this song, and then you're just like, well, it can be hard sometimes, and I don't know. I did the one song a month thing for 8 weeks in a row, and I don't know, man. I think I might go back to batch, either full on EP releases and full on album releases. I don't know. Maybe we're swinging back around to that.
And what didn't you like about the 8 singles in 8 weeks?
Just I thought it was supposedly, when I had read about it and I had heard about doing it, it allowed for traction as far as becoming an artist and getting fans and growing a fan base. I mean, there's so much music released every single day. It's real, unless you're gonna do release a song a week. It is insane to be able to pick up traction.
Yeah.
So,
well, the interesting thing with the Spotify change. Yeah, with Spotify's new policy of we're not going to pay you till you hit 1,000, it's almost like you can't move on until it crosses that threshold. And all these platforms quantify it on monthly listeners. So I'd imagine that, you can maybe get 2 to 4 releases in a month and have that build on traction. Right. But I think just, incessantly repackaging and reformatting one song every month might be the process that I take on for a little bit, because it feels like all I could really handle, to sit down the first week of the month to track it, the second week to really get in the element of the soundscape, then mix it down, and then last week say, how many videos can I make of this chorus, vertical and landscape, and figure out what the release strategy is against that. Feels like the best process, having not done it. We all have all these ideas of what's gonna take us to that next level, and there's no for sure. There's nothing definite about it.
Right. And are you, so when you have the full thing, we're kind of getting it. I mean, this is a nerdy podcast. Who cares? We're talking about a lot of nerdy music production stuff, but I love it. So here we go. When we're talking about, so you have a full mix, you have the full band in there, how much are you going back to them to recut, or can you do things I can kind of cover that with production? I mean,
The nice thing with the way my band works out is the guys who play with me live are playing with me in the studio. So they're not going to cut something that they haven't played for a year, you know, like at least in the best case scenario. So we've had enough discussions of, I loved that, I didn't love this popped, this didn't work. So when they come in the studio, my hope is that guys are playing the same thing 4 to 5 times, and I'm just picking best performance. I'm not picking best arrangement.
Sure.
Because if it is best arrangement, it's still, unless it's the best day of their life, it's not a perfect performance. You know, I still need to be able to bounce between 3 iterations of you on that same chorus, because this rim shot had beef to it and this rim shot did, you know?
Yeah. That's as a guy who's I'm like leaning towards hiring live musicians now, just because it's kind of a different thing than being able to program drums, and you have to have certain things in mind and what you want, but there's always a different thing in the drummer's mind, a live drummer's mind for that for that section, you know what I mean?
Well, it's interesting when, you know, you're compromising the moment that someone else walks in the room, and like we kind of talked about with mixing and mastering, like you're letting go of the control of what's going to happen in this section.
Right.
Like, yes, you can ask for something, and yes, they might do it, but at the end of the day, like, if you're not paying for their artistry, you're just paying for the execution. There is a drummer in the box that will do that better. There's an AI that's going to do exactly what you tell it to, much easier than another person will. But I think there's moments of compromise and kind of fighting it out that lead to really great pieces in the art. And if it doesn't, it's probably not the best bandmate for you, you know?
Probably not.
Like the guys I work with, like they drive me nuts for reasons that I love. So we have many a heated discussion about what needs to happen to get me there, you know?
Absolutely. And speaking of driving you crazy for the best reasons, you just got married.
Woo!
Hello, man. Welcome to the club.
She is the most patient person in my life. And we just got back from, we haven't gone on the honeymoon yet. We just did family vacation with her side of the fam, and then I went on the road for a week down in Florida. And the thing that cracked me up the most is we're sitting on the beach and she asked me what time it was, and I just took a wild guess at it because I don't like to be accurate with shit. And she goes, you know, when you answer things that you don't know so confidently, it can be really frustrating. I'm like, that's why I write songs. I don't know what I'm talking about. Like, I'm making shit up, baby. That's because the MO.
Because in that is so funny, because that I've had the same conversations with my wife as well, and because she also works in a very different industry than I do. But that kind of thinking in like a songwriting like session is perfect, because you kind of want those ideas that are like kind of out there and stuff. Yeah,
you want to feel like you're free to recreate reality at times. So if I say it's 4-ish and it's 4:15, I fucking nailed it, you know? But
4-ish is, exactly.
But if someone's a nurse like my wife is, she's like, I write down 4:17 when it's 4:17. Now when it's 4:19, now when it's 4:20, Blaze, hallelujah, go Ohio. You just got to, you got to be a little bit more pinpoint.
Totally. And then let's turn to the tour of this record. Is it you and the band? Is it just you? Is it kind of a mixture, or how's that going?
Big variety of it. Yeah. I tend to base that decision on how familiar am I in the market that we are, and what's kind of like the glass ceiling of what we can make versus what's going to cost me to get the guys there. Like this last run in Florida, we did pretty well. Not a lot of merch sales, but we had good guarantees, and I'm happy to fly the guys down, and things are okay in that regard. But, you know, like I got a good following in the New Hampshire area, but to logistically get the guys up there with a trailer full of stuff just kind of rocks my world a little too hard. So
man.
You make compromises as you look around at dates, and we do really well in the Carolinas. We do really well like directly north, like towards northern Ohio, and you know, when we go out east, it's a little more dicey. You know, we'll have fun playing in NYC or doing something like that, but there's so many artists in a city like that you'll never get a place that wants to pay you what the entertainment's worth. It's only what the bar sales are worth, you know?
Yeah, and as I think about this a lot, the idea of having a band nowadays, and is it worth it? And I know it can be worth it, but there must be some trade-offs with you, obviously, like when you're playing solo or playing with a band, depending on what the venue can hold. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but
size
also, like,
and also whatever they want to do. You know, you're fine. Offering that configuration is always the best thing because I can't compromise on what I need for a Friday, Saturday night personally. And then building up from there is all up to them. You can give them that kind of decision. But for a long time, I would make compromises about what I needed to sustainably keep at it. And that ended up being a sinking ship of booking my band on a bunch of gigs where it's not like they're making the kind of money they want to be, and I'm certainly not, so why are we doing this? So now it's kind of turned to a policy of here's where we start, and where we end is up to the client or the room or the party, whatever that facilitates.
I think that's a really smart way to do it, honestly, because and again, it must be a trade-off with you of is this gig, is it going to be worth it? Is it going to be fun? Is this gig going to be, like, for lack of a better term, like, is it going to be more showcasey, like, rather than you making the more of the money? You know what I mean? Like, there's more financial versus showcasing your stuff. That
totally.
Kind of
and if you don't enjoy all the configurations you're playing in, then there's a problem with that model. Like, I'm as happy playing my solo Looper show than I am playing with the 7-piece band, as long as I get a little bit of both. Like, there's seasons where we're going into the early part of next year after wedding band season, and it's going to be a lot of just me because people are skinning up for the year. Versus during this part of the year, this is where people are throwing the ragers of a lifetime, and they want to have the whole shebang and pay me a little extra to bring out a fog machine. It's like, I'll absolutely do that. And sometimes for the sake of varying it up at venues that have seen me do the solo show enough times, like we'll take a risk and we'll take the band somewhere. We had a great show in Aberdeen, North Carolina, with like the big 7-piece band, and there was an awesome wedding client that helped to make that trip worthwhile, so that the whole weekend made sense, even if that one show didn't make a ton of sense, you know?
Right. So it's almost like you're making up for things sometimes here and there. It's almost you know, like if you don't have, you know, it's just all dependent probably. And I wanted to ask about, like, as far as set list goes, the arrangements must be different from you and a looper than full band. But is the set list kind of the same, or you kind of just pull songs in and out depending on?
Well, as far as
some songs might sound better with a full band, you know.
Yeah, with the original catalog, everything's always on the table because everything starts off just me and the looper. Some things I eventually take out of the acoustic set because, like you said, like they're more fun with the band. There's more meat on the bones, and now it feels a little insufficient when I go for this live.
Right.
But everything kind of goes through that filter to start. So if I'm doing 4 hours straight of my tunes, like there's things that are clearly to me, missing the meat of it that I love now. If it's just the looper show.
Right.
And then there's other stuff where it's like, I can't even show the band this yet. It's still so much in process, under 50% of what I would want it to be, that they'll just be wait, you know?
It's still happening, right? Like, it's still constantly going on? Are you still booking places? And
yeah, I mean, I honestly try to never stop having road dates. I like to be on the road 1 week a month. And then the other 3 weeks are in town, using the best of my leverage to make a living and keep above water and keep low cost and that. Yeah. And then that 1 week a month, I kind of bounce between my markets. My buddy Kevin Fox gave me this advice. He's like, you need to be back there every 3 months if they're going to give a shit and remember you. So I try to go into my A market, which is directly north, anywhere from northern Ohio to Michigan. My B market's like the Northeast. That's where I'll go up to New Hampshire. I'll do like the New York thing, or I'm doing Philadelphia this next time around. The C market's going to be like Northwest, so like I'll go as far as like Kansas City, St. Louis.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure that part of the world out a little bit more. Like Chicago's a lot of fun, but Chicago's difficult to navigate. And then once a year I'll do Florida, but most of the time my southern runs like the Carolinas, Nashville, and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, places like Chicago, man, and New York is filled with talent, and Chicago's also there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like as far
It's
as
just high cost, you know.
on top
Getting
of
an
that, for
Airbnb,
sure.
getting a hotel, it's like you're gonna lose your flat rate here. So unless you're sure that you can go out there and sell T-shirts and get a good guarantee, it's gonna be a grind to make this work out.
Right.
And sometimes it's worth it, but again, going back to the other talent thing, it's like when you can be at one of the few music venues in a small town, they say, "I can't believe you're here." When you're playing in Chicago to 5 people and you drove 7 hours with a trailer, they're going to say, "Why are you here?" You know, it's because you just don't have the ability to stand out as much until you have people in those towns asking for you. And like, it's nice that we have the metrics from Spotify and things like that to gauge where you have a following.
Right.
But my numbers still aren't in a place that they really inform me that much.
What you just said about Chicago for 5 people, I played this past summer in Milwaukee to 7 people at a
Played that same stage, brother.
Summerfest, man. I mean, it was. Well, you know what? It was more than that, and they were honestly a great crowd. Like I don't know if you experienced the same thing, but when I was up there, man, it was killer. It was so fun, and I was playing original stuff too.
Yeah. And you get treated like any other artist does on that stage, even if you are at the smallest ranks. And sometimes one person is enough. I mean, the quality of listener is the biggest thing to me, because I'll go play certain clubs that are 4 hours straight, 500 people in the room, and not a single one of them follows me on Instagram, after begging all night, after, sweating my ass off and killing myself.
And they're into the show. You know what I mean?
Totally. They seem like they're having a good time, but they're not the type of listener that has follow through and conversion value. Versus at a place like Summerfest, I came here today because I wanted to see a variety of music, because I made time for this in my life to find something new while I'm here. And if that new thing is you, 1 can become 3 and 3 can become 5, and suddenly we're playing a game of just exponential growth in odd markets that you just need to follow up with.
Right. It is a weird game of finding the people who have online follow through and who can not just support you in the, because I wanted to talk to you also about, on my way to Milwaukee, I played Indie Tin Roof, right?
Yeah. I was there last night.
You were? Awesome. Cool. Our buddy, my buddy, you know Brian Goins? You know that guy?
Yeah.
Okay. I've known that dude for like 10 years. He just played with Teddy Swims up there. Like he's a killer guitar player.
Yeah.
But anyway, I played up there a couple months ago. First time playing there. It was, I don't know anybody up there. I had little promo. It was just to make money along the way. Kind of like, packed place. Played for 3 hours. It was so much fun. I don't think I'd ever had, just by myself playing covers for like 3 hours and maybe some originals mixed in. None of them have followed me on anything. Like, you know what I mean? Like I don't get, but it was just so, it was like reinvigorating as an artist to be like, holy shit, this was so much fun. And I don't know if it's just specifically that place or what, but I really had a time of my life, man, at that club.
Yeah, and I think, so I play that entire Tin Roof circuit, and people come there to hear live music, but often people come there to hear a very particular realm of live music, and that ends up being a lot of Mr. Brightsides and Motley Crue requests and things like that. And most of the time, I'm happy to play that kind of thing for people. But, like this 2 weeks ago, I drove 17 hours to Delray, Florida, and I sang for 4 hours straight for 3 nights consecutively. I put my body through hell, and I'm not here to sound like anyone else besides me. So you're getting 50-50 coverage. You might hear another band play, and then my shit as I feel fit. And there's a lot of times where people seem like they're really enjoying the original stuff as much as they're enjoying the songs they know. And those people are worth trying to make a fan of.
Right.
But then there's a lot of time that you're just background music, and they just want to be loud and wild, and that is what it is. So I think the variety of the two, like, I'd much rather play to a packed room above all things, but I need to meet people that are going to see the value proposition I'm putting forward and make something of it on their end. Or else you end up burning through your 20s and 30s where you have the capacity to put your body through the road and these things, and you come out of it with no fans. It's like,
It's tough,
I want
man.
to, I want to retire like Bruce Springsteen on a catalog of songs that mean the world to people, and still have my live shows to do as long as I feel fit. And maybe that's
Taylor Swift now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, she's our age, and she has that.
and she's in a different category too, where if she puts out a record saying, hey, this is the version of this that I own, don't listen to the old version, these aren't the kind of fans that say, fuck you, I like that one better. It's like, no, we will abandon ship, we will burn the CDs, and we will be here for you. You don't wake up with that kind of following. You curate that kind of following as much as they curate their selection for artists.
I agree. And it also it definitely has to do with what she was doing what time is the place and time of her was kind of perfect. For her to be able to project to what she is now. She's also very talented, all that stuff as a musician, all that. But I've been hearing recently that it's more about people follow the person instead of the songs, instead of the music. Like, people will follow the artist and they'll love the artist, and the music is almost secondary.
I think there's some truth to that in the world of social media, but you need to keep what is your primary purpose of business at the forefront. It's like, I'm here to write songs that fit into your life. We may disagree about how to live a happy life, but if I can be part of that soundtrack, I feel incredibly fulfilled. And then maybe after that you say, even if I don't see eye to eye with this person, I think they are a quality human being, so I feel more inclined to spread that music. Like, it's like the multiple layers of consumerism. Did I like the song on the first listen? Was it catchy? Am I singing it the second time? Am I reading the lyrics without the song because I love the message? Did that message convey me to go look at the artist's other lyrics and feel even more involved personally in what their output is? And then by that point, you've really reached a layer with these people that feels like you can make a lifelong relationship to. And then all you do is hold up your end of the deal. Like, I think the amazing thing for Taylor Swift that we always need to consider and appreciate is she's written songs since she was 10 years old about what was going on in her life in a totally unfiltered sense, super honest. And she's always showed up with those songs and said, this is where I'm at. And throughout that, she's been a supportable enough person that people feel like they've grown up with Taylor.
Yeah.
Her fans feel like their lives have been interconnected and on a similar path, that they know that Taylor's always going to be there for them. You can't have the best friend relationship to your fans, but you can be one of the strongest rocks and foundations for people's, personal sanity and participation in their life in such a cool way through this field. It's really moving.
A cool thing. Yeah. On top of what you were talking about, would you go, or have you been out to see T Swift?
I saw Taylor Swift for my first concert ever when she opened for Rascal Flatts on the Fearless tour.
No way.
But I haven't seen her in this new monolithic stage, no.
Dude, I have a thing, I don't know about, like, arenas are tough for me because it's like, even if it's an artist that I would kill for, I can't, the money is just, I don't have it right now to sit up that close.
And also, it's kind of a subpar listening experience. Like,
True.
I'm someone that if I go to a show, I'd like to sit. I'd like for it to be a perfect mix. I want to be able to see the stage. I want to be on my ass with the drink in hand. Like, it needs to contradict my usual experience from this, which we're jaded towards it. We get on a stage and look out at the people, and they're all watching you, and you get to sing them something, and then they, you know what I mean? Like it's pretty fucking
we get
neat.
that. I mean,
yeah, sometimes people get angry.
boy, man, I know I've had 10 years of having my name on marquees and 5 people in the audience. Sometimes none. I had that once, and me and the bartender all night,
Man,
hanging out.
But I think there's a relationship to be made with the bar staff in moments like that, where this is a field that tests your sincerity every single day, and it's the glass ceiling of success has moved so much from what the industry used to be to what it is now. I mean, you can be a musical celebrity because you change the words to songs and you sing them on your TikTok with no mic and no production. Like, you could be a low-budget Weird Al and have a bigger fan base than maybe you and I together would ever have.
Sure.
But
will those fans? It's kind of like the Spotify thing. Will those fans go see you do it live? Will like because there's a having millions of followers on Spotify or whatever, or plays, that doesn't necessarily equate to concert tickets and butts in seats and all that stuff.
Totally. And I think there's also there's a good question there of what do you want to make a living at? Like, you don't have to play live to make a living in this.
That's
you
true.
could just do live streams, or you could just do merchandising, or you could just do brand endorsements, and there's all kinds of ways to make a buck. And I think that's the insufferable part that people don't know that we go through. It's like, every time you play a bar, you stick your neck out and tell people what you're worth, and you get shut down a lot of times.
Yeah.
Every time you take a request from somebody to play a song that they love, or to learn a song they love, or to take a risk because you've never played this and you don't know how it's going to come out, that might be a $2 experience for them, and for you it was the hardest $2 you've ever made, know? And
Yes.
a lot of the times people expect you to do it for free because the instant gratification of a phone too.
Absolutely.
Like, you're never competing with in-person experiences aren't competing with in-person experiences anymore. In-person experiences compete with a world of high caliber content sitting on the screen in front of them.
Yeah.
So conveying why that has any reason to be top dollar experience to them is difficult. So
agree.
when you see Taylor Swift's merch truck pull in a city 3 days in advance, and you see the line down the street, you say, why does her merch sell like that? It's like, I don't think it's because people love the hoodies. I don't think it's because they couldn't get them somewhere else. I think it's that they want to be part of this point in time where she was here with us. It's about supporting her directly. So the more that you can convey to people why you're asking for what you're asking for, the more likely you are to get it. But it's a very weird sale. I mean, it's like, it's such an emotional appeal to have with people.
Yeah, working in a business that is based on emotions and subjectivity and creativity and all that stuff is very weird, and can be, listen, even in the stuff that I'm doing and you're doing, which is like private events and stuff, like some of the best accidental moments, like I didn't even think would happen, have happened at those gigs, because like, I wasn't expecting them to happen, stuff like people, hanging out and watching, like 20-25 people hanging out at the end of a private event, just watching you know what I mean? Like stuff like that can happen, which is like, wow, this is, I was not expecting this at all.
Yes. And can you be primed and ready for really weird opportunities to make a difference to somebody?
Right.
Because you're more memorable in moments where you're not looking for it than
Exactly.
I have a show on Friday. I can imagine the crowd being packed. I can imagine there being people staying in the streets trying to hear this show. And it might end up being one guy there. And you need to treat him like he's the only person that matters, because right now he is.
Because right now he might be.
Yeah, like we had a show in Cleveland maybe about 6 months ago where we played to like 100 people in a 100-person room. Like, I was thrilled with the outcome. It was packed in there. It was a great show. But I know at the end of the day when when I'm drenched in sweat, loading my shit out into a cold street, and I got to drive back for the next 3 hours, and I just lost like $200 because I don't pay my guys less than what they're worth, even if I'm not making that money back. It's like they have a minimum that's at least what they're worth. Boy, do I wish I could pay more tonight. So even if it was a really fun experience, it's like I can only do this for so long in so many ways. And a rando who had no reason to be in Cleveland, Ohio, wanted to help us load stuff out into the cold street. He seems like he's hammered to me, so I'm not really talking to him much. Like, I'm tired. I'm not in the mood for it.
Sure.
My bass player is the one that spent the time with him, was really chatting. And because he treated him like the one person he was, like the one person who really gave a shit, that guy gave us the biggest tip in my life. I started my Roth IRA retirement fund based off of what this guy did for us that night.
That's great. That's amazing.
And I'll never forget that experience. Then that accounts for all these times I've lost my ass on an original show, breaking my back, maybe playing to a full room or maybe playing to one person.
Right. That is so worth it. That is really cool. Stuff like that makes it all great. I mean,
yeah. Does it totally equate? No. Like, you're not going to emotionally remember that on nights that you're really down.
Sure.
But it was a moment that, like, in the game of really vigilant optimism, like just trying to stay on top of the fact that I need to be positive, that this is going to go great, this is going to work out. I think I'm doing an awesome job for these people. That's one of those moments I'll always look back on, and I'll pin it to the wall, and I'm like, that was good.
Yeah, those are good moments, and they definitely stick with you. But again, it's not going to make up for the fact that other gigs are going to suck and all that stuff. But it's part of the job, part of the gig, part of the overall gig, life gig.
And you know, I don't know what portion of your listeners would be other artists versus being just people that go to shows, but there's a miracle in front of us every time someone says, like, I search out local new music, because streaming platforms make 70% of their cash off of legacy, off of albums that are the greatest albums of all time, and would get those plays regardless. So the opportunity, and I don't know that figure for sure. This is me spouting off, and I don't know numbers very well.
Four-ish thing.
Exactly. You know, fucking. But the window for new material has shrunk in front of us. It used to be that the radio always wanted something fresh. The labels would pay the radio to put them in that cycle. It would turn over. The wheel would spin. The wheel is no longer there. You choose to participate in that cycle, or you don't. So every time someone does take the risk and finds your record and spins it, like that's a miraculous thing that someone chose to come here. And it's a little more similar to people eating in your restaurant, you know, than it is people finding their favorite artists these days, because it's pennies on the dollar that you spend until it could be an actual career just based on your streams, you know?
Right.
And
absolutely.
I still sell CDs, you know, like I don't care that it's a nostalgic item that'll probably ever get played. I make them myself for a couple of bucks, and I sell them for $5. And every time I sell one of those, it's worth thousands of streams worth. And it's like, if this is the game that I got to play, that's fine. Yeah. Because this is what I actually showed up here to make sure you leave with.
Yeah, man, I would almost rather have someone buy CDs or records, whatever I'm selling, in person than have those thousands of streams show up in my Spotify just one day.
Yeah, because at least that's tangible. You know, there's a really it's a futile game to be watching that number and trying to equate your self-worth to it. And we're all stuck in this rut of having to look at those numbers, and you know, as we still consider labels an option, which I think that's also done with the past. You don't need major financing to make great records anymore. You just need the space, the time, the diligence to do so. But
Yeah.
if you're expecting for someone to pluck you from the mix and say, you're going to make it, I'm going to put everything behind you making it. They want to know that you have those numbers behind you. That's your leverage. That's your playing token. So it's a weird thing to reach for, knowing that they can't make superstars the way that they used to. You know, individuals make superstars.
Right. All right, buddy. We got to run, man. Thanks for doing this again, as always.
Charlie, I'm here for whatever, whenever. I think the world of you, brother. And
Thanks, brother.
For everyone that's listening right now, you've chosen a quality program, because this is a guy that breaks his fucking back to bring you amazing things, whether it's conversations or music,
Yeah, man.
or a good time at a bar.
We love it. Absolutely. Oh, fuck. What was I going to say? Oh, back when you were literally just talking about you don't know who listens to this show. I hope music nerds listen to this show.
Nerds.
I hope it's artists. I hope it's artists who want to get better. I hope it's people just like me and you who are looking for for someone who's also like, oh yeah, I go through that shit too. You know what I mean? Like, oh, I'm doing the same thing, because it can, if you're on your own doing that, being on the road is kind of a lonesome thing to have. You know what I mean? And we all go through.
It's a bit of the camaraderie.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly. So for the camaraderie, but yeah, anyone else can listen to. There's no bar. All right. So what are we promoting? Few Words EP. Still, the tour is still happening.
Few Words EP. I always got tour dates. Check out my website, mattwatersmusic.com. I'm going to have a single coming out relatively soon. I just did a project with a nonprofit in town called Adopt a Class. So it's a song that I wrote for them in addition to their videos. So pumping up their mission, where they put a variety of mentors into schools where kids can find out about different career paths that they can pursue, where they might not be looking at the widest variety of what does adulting really look like. So
Right.
I'm grateful for kick-ass people, kick-ass programs that allow me to bring my share of art to their projects. So bless them for that. And then I got the Weekly Wave if you want to check it out. And then what's going to be the Monthly Muse going on 2024, moving to Wednesday nights. And hopefully you'll come on that show, okay?
Yeah, for sure. I'll definitely. Is it still going to be at Little Miami?
It's going to be a little bit at Little Miami and then some other venues as well. So it'll be on Wednesdays in 2024. I'll shoot you some dates after this.
Yes, everyone go follow Matt.
Real Matt Waters Insta.
Everyone go follow, and all that stuff is awesome live music, awesome local stuff happening there every week starting in 2024. And I'm going to play some Few Words stuff on the way out here. So
Thank you, brother.
thanks again, man. For
Anytime, man.
Show.
Peace, players.
Peace.
Stop my way, I've been crowned a killer. It ain't my choice to be an angel or sinner. I've done my best to keep my eye warm in the winter. The sweetest taste comes after the bitter. That's just how it works. You can't operate without that light. You can't make peace without a fight. You always need a line if you want it tight. So I'll do what's wrong. You do what's right. I'm down this road with no one to turn to. I'm so far gone, but there's more left to burn through. So off we go to follow the truth. It's what it is, ain't nothing that change you. That's just how it works. You can't have faith without that light. You can't make peace without a fight. You always feel blind if you want inside. So I'll do what's wrong. my town. He'd never lived to die. He'd never lived a life. Picked my side out. Served my town. He'd never lived to die. He'd never lived a life. Picked my side out. Served my town. He'd never lived to die. He'd never lived a life. Picked my side out. Served my town. He'd never lived to die. He'd never lived a life. Picked my side. You can't have a thing without that night. You can't make peace without a fight. You always need a wine. You want a time. So I'll do what's wrong. You'll do what's right.
What's right, what's right, what's right, what's right, what's right, what's right.
Thanks for listening to Mad Sound Radio.